Breaking news, guys. Take a look at your calendar. Remember today's date because it may go down as the day Canada started to collapse before our very eyes. Alberta has just taken the first official step to break from Canada, and the shockwaves, they're already rattling Ottawa, Wall Street, and yes, even the White House. President Donald J. Trump has just issued a massive warning telling the world that Canada is now in free fall, politically, economically, and socially. And folks, this isn't just about Alberta. What's happening up north could tear Canada apart from both the West and the East, and the fallout will hit you right here in America. Now think about this, guys. Alberta, Canada's energy superpower, has finally said enough. After years of being robbed by Ottawa, billions in oil wealth siphoned away, pipelines blocked, families betrayed, Alberta is breaking free. But here's the kicker. Saskatchewan, Manitoba, even rural BC, they're waiting in line to follow. And don't forget Quebec. Independence fever is back, and it's stronger than any point since 1995. But this is only the beginning, because while Canada fractures, Mexico spirals into cartel chaos. A Mexican senator just risked her life to expose the truth. Her own government is in bed with the narcos. And while Canada crumbles, cartels are flooding our border with fentanyl, migrants, and violence. And if that wasn't enough, halfway across the world, Putin just fired missiles at a U.S. facility in the Ukraine and issued a nuclear threat directly to President Trump. The message is clear. The world is in chaos. America's neighbors are falling apart. And the only question left is whether Trump's warnings are going to be enough to stop this free fall before it drags the entire Western hemisphere into catastrophe. So today, I want to break down why Alberta finally said it's over with Ottawa, the devastating financial earthquake that could wipe out Canada's future. President Trump's chilling warning just released to Canada, and what this really means for America, how Mexico's narco state crisis is exploding at the same time, and why Russia is picking this exact moment in time to test America's strength. Guys, this ain't news. This is the end of an era for Canada, and this is the start of a very dangerous new reality for all of us. So stick with me. If you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button, subscribe. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and say it again. Mark this day on your calendar, because what just happened in Alberta isn't just politics as usual. It's not some minor dispute. No, this is the day that Canada's foundation cracked wide open. Alberta has made the formal break. They've crossed the line. And Ottawa is reeling. The Canadian establishment that for decades milked Alberta dry just got the shock of their lives. And so here's the bombshell. President Donald J. Trump, he isn't sitting on the sidelines. He is warning the world that Canada is now in free fall, politically, economically, socially, in every category. And folks, this isn't just about one province leaving. This is the unraveling of Canada itself. The house of cards is tumbling down. Now, if you're watching from Canada, let me know what province you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you guys. And many people in Canada are absolutely furious with their leadership. Let me know if that sounds like you. But why now? Why is Alberta finally saying enough after years of frustration? And then what comes next? Well, the numbers are staggering, so I want to get into it. So a brand new poll from the Western Standard has just lit the fuse. Listen to this, guys. 94% of Albertans are saying that they're being shortchanged by Ottawa. 86% want to move further towards sovereignty. And the real shocker is that 87% said that they would vote for independence if a referendum were held today. That's not a protest vote. That's not a bluff. That is a full-on declaration of independence. And it's not just talk anymore. Alberta has officially triggered the referendum mechanics. And so, look, petitions have already blown past the threshold. The Alberta Prosperity Project is in overdrive, and the momentum is unstoppable. In fact, at the center of it all, Premier Danielle Smith and the United Conservative Party, according to the poll, 72% of Albertans, they want them to lead the movement, and 62% want independence as a core party priority. Now, this isn't fringe. This is mainstream. So here's where it gets even bigger. Alberta is not going to be alone. Saskatchewan is right behind them. Manitoba isn't far off. And in the rural British Columbia, away from Vancouver's cosmopolitan bubble, support for a referendum is skyrocketing. So If Alberta jumps, others are going to follow too. Now, think about what that means. This isn't just about one province walking away. This is the West breaking off. And Ottawa knows once the dam breaks, there's no patching it back together. And so this kind of brings us to the next big question. Like, what happens to Canada's finances when Alberta leaves? Because, spoiler alert, it's catastrophic. And Trump himself has already sounded the alarm. Now, for some people, it takes a crisis to wake up. A hospital bill, a denied claim, a sudden coverage change. But most people aren't waiting until disaster strikes. They're actually calling chapter before it happens. Now, one of our viewers put it perfectly. She said, chapter saved me before I even knew I had a problem. So the question is, will you wait for the emergency, or are you going to do what most people are already doing? Now, most people are already calling the number on the bottom of the screen here, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron before it's too late. The number on the screen is 909-563-8279, and it's a completely free call for the Ron Yates community. So yeah, I'll just share that with you guys. So here's the ugly truth that Ottawa doesn't want you to hear. Canada cannot survive without Alberta, period. Like, over the last 23 years, Alberta has sent a jaw-dropping $540 billion to Ottawa. Now, think about that just for a moment, okay? More than the GDP of most countries siphoned off from Alberta's oil fields, taxpayers, and families. Every year, Alberta gets crumbs back. Crumbs. So let me put it another way. Alberta makes up just 12% of Canada's population, but they contribute 17% of all federal tax revenues. Does that sound fair to you? That is 43% more than their fair share. And so what do they get in return? Lectures from Ottawa about dirty oil and environmental apocalypse. Meanwhile, the very same provinces cash Alberta's checks. So take Nova Scotia, for example, right? They rake in $1.7 billion every year in equalization payments. It sounds small, right? I mean, when you say $1.7 billion, how do you say that's small? But yeah, anyway, it's not that small, guys. This is 30% of their entire budget. And so where does this money come from? Alberta's oil fields, the same ones that Ottawa demonizes. You see what I'm saying? It's like they're talking crap and then they want the money off the profits. It's not fair. If Alberta walks, these payments vanish. And let me tell you guys, the rest of Canada cannot cover the difference. Ontario alone would have to fork over an extra $1 to $2 billion a year just to keep the lights on in those provinces. And don't forget Alberta's energy power. In 2024, production was worth $140 billion. That's $70 billion straight into Canada's GDP. Gone in a flash. Premier Danielle Smith said, if Ottawa hadn't blocked key pipelines, Keystone, Northern Gateway, Energy East, Alberta could have added another $55 billion per year in GDP and $17 billion in provincial revenue. Now, this is what Ottawa threw away. So here's the bottom line, folks. If Alberta leaves, Ottawa goes broke. Equalization crumbles, provinces dependent on subsidies collapse. Canada, as we know it, will cease to exist. That's it. And this is why President Trump's warning hit like a thunderclap. Oh, it's over. So President Trump looked at Alberta's breakaway and didn't mince words. He said, Canada is in freefall, economically, politically, socially. And let's be honest, folks, he's right. Trump knows exactly what this means. A fractured Canada cannot stand, can't pay its bills, and cannot defend itself. And so when your neighbor is collapsing, it affects you. That's why he's already signaling that the United States will protect its economy and secure ties with Alberta and the West. Now, Trump will not let Ottawa's collapse drag down America. He's not going to do it. So here's the contrast. Trump is leading with clarity while Canada drowns in Trudeau and Mark Carney's liberal policies. While Alberta is fighting to be free, Mexico under President Claudia Sheinbaum is sinking deeper and deeper into cartel control. So who's standing in the gap? Trump. The message couldn't be any clearer. Under Biden, America's neighbors went rogue, Russia firing missiles, Mexico becoming a narco state, Canada bleeding its West dry. But under Trump, America is drawing the line. He's warning Ottawa, get your house in order or face the consequences. And so this kind of sets up the next part of the story, because Alberta breaking free really isn't happening in a vacuum. At the very same time, Mexico is collapsing into cartel control. Now, one very brave senator just risked her life to say it out loud. Her government is infested. And if Canada's breaking apart from the north and Mexico is rotting from the south, then what does this mean for America that's caught up in the middle like a sandwich, right? So now, guys, as Alberta's breaking free in the north, what's happening down south, it's really explosive because Mexico is sliding into a full-blown narco state. Just days ago, Mexican Senator Lily Tellez went on record on international television saying flat out, Mexico is a narco state. She exposed the alliance between cartels and politicians, including President Claudia Sheinbaum herself. Here's what she revealed. Cartels are pumping millions into campaigns. They bankroll the narco politicians. And once those politicians get into power, they protect the cartels that put them there to begin with. Right? So the cartel gets the politician elected, and then they protect the cartel that put them in there, that gave them the position, basically. So this is why Claudia Sheinbaum doesn't want America help. She doesn't want Trump's leadership shining a light on the rot that's inside of her own government. Folks, this ain't abstract. The cartels run the streets. They run the borders. They're flooding America with fentanyl, with migrants and chaos. And here's the kicker. While Alberta is rising up to break free from corruption in Ottawa, Mexico is sinking deeper into cartel capture. Two borders, two crises, one truth. America is surrounded by instability. So just when you think it can't get any worse, Russia enters the picture. Now, you guys remember just last week, Vladimir Putin fired cruise missiles at a U.S.-owned facility in Ukraine. 15 injured, thousands put at risk, and then he issued a direct nuclear warning to President Trump. His message was clear. Push Russia, and they'll go nuclear. But here's what's really going on here. Russia sees weakness. They see Canada fracturing. They see Mexico drowning in corruption. They see America's allies are faltering. And Putin thinks now is the moment to test the West. And this is exactly why Trump keeps saying it. The only thing our enemies respect is strength. Biden went 4 years projecting weakness. And what happened? Russia invaded, Mexico spiraled, Canada crumbled. Trump's drawn a line here. There's no more weakness, no more excuses. He's warning Canada. He's warning Mexico, and he's staring down Putin himself, because if America doesn't project strength now, this freefall spreads everywhere. And so this kind of brings us to the next massive shockwave, guys. It's not just Alberta in the West breaking free. In the East, Quebec nationalism is exploding again. Now, if Quebec follows Alberta, Canada isn't just in freefall. It is finished. So here's the next domino about to fall. And folks, this one is a biggie, Quebec. So while Alberta is marching toward independence in the West, in the East, Quebec nationalism is surging like we've not seen in decades. Now, among young people ages 18 to 34 years old, support for Quebec independence has skyrocketed to 56%. Guys, this is the highest since the razor-thin referendum of 1995, when the no side won by less than half a percentage point. Now, think about that. Okay, Alberta leaves, and then suddenly Quebec says, why not us? They've always felt alienated, always seen themselves as separate, and now the timing is perfect. If Alberta walks, Quebec, they see its chance to finally break off too. And so this isn't just Alberta versus Ottawa anymore. It's now East versus West. And if both sides peel away, that's the end of Canada, a fractured shell of a country bleeding out from both ends. And here's the warning. Independence referendums have the highest turnout of any election. In 1995, it was over 90% in 1995. And then historically, when people show up in droves for referendums, they vote for change, meaning this time Quebec may actually go. So now I want to talk about America's place in all of this, because while Canada fractures and Mexico sinks, President Donald J. Trump is positioning the United States as the anchor of stability in North America. Now, Trump isn't just warning Ottawa. He's already laying out the playbook. He's calling for stronger U.S.-Alberta partnerships on energy, trade routes, and security. If Ottawa can't hold it together, Trump's going to make sure that Alberta has a lifeline to the south. So let's be clear. Trump's not afraid to play hardball. He's signaling that he's ready to hit unstable regimes with tariffs and sanctions, whether it's Trudeau and Mark Carney's Liberals in Ottawa or Claudia Sheinbaum's cartel-infested government in Mexico, or even Putin's Russia. The message is simple. America will protect its people, its borders, and its future, no matter what chaos is brewing around us. So this is what America First doctrine looks like, folks. Canada may be collapsing, Mexico may be captured, but under Trump, the U.S. will not sink with them. Which kind of brings us to the final point that I wanted to share with you guys today, whenever you happen to be watching the show. Because when we look back at August 25th, 2025, it may go down as the day that Canada began to break apart forever. And, the question now is, how does strong U.S. leadership save the hemisphere? Or does chaos spread across both of our borders? So here we are, guys. August 26, 2025, the day that Canada's collapse went from whispers to reality. Alberta has broken ranks. Quebec is heating up, Ottawa is drowning in debt, and Trump has warned the world Canada is in freefall. And so let's not miss the bigger picture. This isn't just about Canada. This is about the entire Western Hemisphere hanging in the balance. In the north, Alberta's independence sparks a financial earthquake that could shatter Ottawa's hold on power. In the east, Quebec nationalism's roaring back. In the south, Mexico's rotting from the cartel capture. And across the ocean, Putin is firing missiles and rattling the nuclear saber. It's chaos on every front. And there's only one question left. Does strong American leadership under Trump stabilize the region? Or does this free fall swallow everything in its path? Because if Alberta can stand up and say no more to a corrupt federal system, if Quebec follows, if Mexico continues to slide, then what we're watching isn't just a Canadian crisis. This is the unraveling of the old order. And here's the truth. The only thing that stops it from spreading its strength, and strength at our borders, strength in our allies, strength in Washington, D.C., and right now, the only person projecting that strength is President Trump. So mark my words, guys, history will remember August 26, 2025 as the day that the ground shifted, the day Alberta broke free, the day Canada began to crumble, and the day America rose and America's role as the anchor of this hemisphere was put to the ultimate test. Now, folks, do not go anywhere, because if you think that this story is over, it's not. Quebec is heating up, Mexico is spiraling, Russia is testing us, and YouTube thinks you're going to want to see the next video that I've got lined up for you right here on your screen. And trust me, it is all connected. Click that video right now. You're going to see exactly where this free fall leads us next. Like, subscribe, and share this with everyone who needs to know what's really happening. We'll see you next time.